Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Jagannatha Prabhu, for kindly introducing me, kindly inviting me here today to speak something about the glories of Jagannatha Maha-prasadam. I am honored that in this wonderful series on Lord Jagannath, which is happening around the Rath Yatra time, I was kindly invited and honored and requested to speak upon the wonderful topic of the glories of Jagannath Maha-prasadam. My respects also to the speakers who have spoken before me. His Holiness Aladar Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Mukunda Datta Prabhu, His Grace Mukunda Datta Prabhu, His Holiness Ram Govind Maharaj, and His Grace Amarendra Prabhu. They have spoken before me. I think I didn't miss out anyone. So these are the devotees who spoke before me. And today, I have been assigned the responsibility of speaking upon the glories of Jagannath Maha-prasadam. So I would like to share my screen before I start speaking. So dear devotees, today's presentation is on the glories of Jagannath Maha-prasadam. Before we begin, there is Shishta Parampara. There is a tradition established by the previous acharyas that we should begin with Mangalacharan. So therefore, I will begin with Mangalacharan. Most of us know these verses. You can kindly sing along with me. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namah He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabha Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you very much once again, dear name Jagannath Prabhu, all the wonderful devotees here who are present on this conference call describing the glories of Jagannath Maha-prasadam. We can see here a painting of Jagannath, Balaram and Subhadra, and they are being offered bhoga, and that bhoga is finally, when it comes to the devotees, it becomes known as Maha-prasadam. So today we are going to describe some of the glories of Jagannath Maha-prasadam. What is Maha-prasadam? What are the attitudes of different devotees and different sampradayas around Maha-prasadam? And today we'll try to see some of that. Before we begin, I would like to start with a statement by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada said in a room conversation on 23rd July 1973, Prabhupada said, Maha-prasad, the foodstuff offered to the deity, this is not ordinary foodstuff. Maha-prasade Govinde. And to the Lord, Maha-prasade Govinde Nam Brahmani, and in the holy name of the Lord, Swalpa Punya Vatam Rajan Vishwaso Naiva Jayate. Those who are less pious, they cannot have faith in these things. So anyone who is accepting prasadam as grace of God, he must be considered as very pious. This is the way. So you can take it. So this is Srila Prabhupada describing the glories of Maha-prasadam. Now, before we move ahead, we should understand exactly what is Maha-prasadam and what exactly have our acharyas defined Maha-prasadam as. So, Maha-prasadam is defined by Sri Sanatana Goswami in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. He describes what is Maha-prasadam. So, Sri Sanatana Goswami says in Brihad Bhagavata, Tasyannam palchidam lakshmya swayam bhuktva dayaluna dattam tena svabhaktebhyo labhyate deva durlabham Maha-prasada sangyam cha tatsprushtam yena kenachit yatra kutrapi vanitam avicharena bhujyate tasyannam pachitam lakshmya. So swayam, and so swayam lakshmya tasya annam pachitam. So Lord Jagannatha's food is cooked directly by Lakshmi Devi. And bhuktva dayaluna, and once it has been consumed by the merciful Lord, dattam tena svabhaktebhyo, and then he gives it away to his own devotees. Labhyate, those devotees obtain that deva durlabham. But what the devotees obtain, the remnants of Lord Jagannath, cooked by Lakshmi Devi, is difficult for even the gods in heaven to attain. What is that? Maha-prasad sangyam cha. This, dear devotees, is known as Maha-prasad. This is Maha-prasad. Tats prishtam yena kenachit. Yatra kutrapi vanitam avicharena bhujyate. So, anything which touches Lord Jagannath's body, even his garland, is also Maha-prasad. What he has eaten is also Maha-prasad. Yatra kutrapi vanitam. And wherever you take it, howsoever, in whatever condition it is, avicharena bhujyate. It is to be consumed without any further considerations. So this is Maha-prasad. So Maha-prasad does not only refer to food, basically. Maha-prasad, tats prishtam yena kenachit. Whatever touches Lord Jagannath's body directly, or whatever comes directly in contact with Lord Jagannath, his clothes are also Maha-prasad, his garland is also Maha-prasad, and obviously the bhoga, the food that he has consumed, which has been cooked directly by Lakshmi Devi, that is also Maha-prasad. So this is Laghu Bhagavatamritam 161 and 162. The translation is as follows. After eating food cooked for him by his consort Lakshmi, the all-merciful Lord Jagannath distributes to his devotees his own remnants, which are available in Nilachal, even though by demigods they are rarely obtained. That food is called Maha-prasad. Be touched by anyone or bought anywhere, the devotees eat it without discrimination. So here the translation is slightly different. Be touched by anyone or bought anywhere. So another translation is also that, that's prishtam. Whatever comes in contact with Jagannath is also Maha-prasad. His nirmalya, his mala is also Maha-prasad. So this is Brihad Bhagavatamrita 2.1, 161, 162. So basically, this is what Maha-prasad is. It is rare even for the Devatas, and it is cooked directly by Lakshmi Devi. Somebody may ask Sanatan Goswami, how do you know that it is cooked directly by Lakshmi Devi? Did you write it yourself in the Brihad Bhagavatamritam, or is there some praman in Shastra that it is cooked directly by Lakshmi Devi? So obviously, there is praman that it is cooked by Shri Lakshmi Devi herself. We can see here a beautiful painting of Shri Lakshmi Devi, who has cooked rice and various other sweets, foodstuffs for Sri Jagannatha. It is described in the Skanda Puran, Purushottama Mahatmya section. Tamasta Jagatam Ya Shri Srashti Sthiti Nashakrit Vaishnavi Shakti Ratula Pariveshana Karini. Samasta Jagatam Ya Shri. See, she who is Shri, Samasta Jagatam, for the entire universe, she is Srishti Sthiti Vinashakrit. She, is indirectly the creator, maintainer, and destroyer. Vaishnavi Shaktir Atula. She is the incomparable Vaishnavi Shakti. Pariveshana Karini. She is the one who cooks and serves food to Sri Jagannatha. So this is the translation. Shri Lakshmi, the cause of the creation, etc. of the universe, is the matchless potency of the Lord. It is she who cooks and serves food to the Lord herself. So this is what is Lakshmi Devi's direct contribution in Maha-prasadam. Now, there is a very unique tradition in Jagannath Puri, and this tradition is called Kotha Bhog. Kotha Bhog, what is Kotha Bhog? That when food is cooked in the Jagannath temple, when Bhoga is cooked in the Jagannath temple, tiny bits of the Chappan Bhog, 56 offerings, are placed in front of Jagannath. Now, when these 56 offerings, tiny bit, little in small pots are placed in front of Jagannath, and Tulsi is added. So Jagannath glances over them, and it is considered that this has become prasad. So after Jagannath consumes it, then the remnants are given to Vimla Devi, and then it becomes known as Maha-prasad. And then once it is known as Maha-prasad, then the devotees consume that Maha-prasad. So this tradition is known as Kotha Bhog, and it is carried out in the Jagannath Puri temple every day, and that is why we call it Maha-prasad. So in the Jagannath Puri tradition, Maha-prasad is that which is consumed by two entities. One is Jagannath and second is Vimla Devi. And in general, any remnants of the Lord are also known as Maha-prasad. So outside Jagannath Puri, anything offered to the Lord mixed with Tulsi is also known as Maha-prasad. But in Jagannath Puri, what is offered to Jagannath and then subsequently offered to Vimla Devi, that becomes known as Maha-prasad. This tradition is known as Kotha Bhog. So Vimla Devi, she is one form of Durga. She is, protecting the temple, and one of the directions of the temple is assigned to her for protection. So that is Vimla Devi, and her responsibility is to ensure that the prasad is turned into Maha-prasad. So that is the tradition of Maha-prasad in Jagannath Puri. Outside Jagannath Puri, any offering to the Lord mixed with Tulsi is also in general known as Maha-prasad. So specifically for Jagannath Maha-prasad, there are a lot of glories described in Shastra. So I am going to give one or two samples of the glories of Jagannath Maha-prasad that are described in the Shastra. Skanda Puran specifically describes about Jagannath Maha-prasad. It says, Chirastham api samshushkam nitam vadudeteshatah yatha tathopayuktam tat sarvam papapanodanam. So chirastham, even if it is kept for a long time, samshushkam, even if Maha-prasad is dry, nitam vadudeteshatah, even if it is taken to far off places, even if you take it in some far off country, yatha tatha, whatever condition it is, as it is, it can be eaten, upayuktam tat, without any consideration. Sarvam papa apanodanam, and it destroys all sins. This is from Skanda Puran. It is from the Purushottama Mahatmya section. I have listed the chapter number and verse number. So this is one of the glory of Jagannath Prasad, that even if it is dry, if it is stale, if it is taken to a far off place, as it is, we can consume it without any consideration. In fact, we might have seen sometimes they sell that dry rice of Jagannath in those reddish, pinkish cloths, and we take those small packets of dry rice so that we can complete our Ekadashi fast on Kvadashi. And this is how Jagannath Maha-prasad is very glorious. Another glory of Jagannath Maha-prasad is also mentioned in the Skanda Puran. It says, Kukurasya mukhad brashtam tadannam patitam yadi brahmanena bhuktavyam itaresham tu kakatha. Kukurasya mukhad brashtam tadannam patitam yadi. Now, if Jagannath Maha-prasad, if it falls from the mouth of a dog, even from the mouth of a dog, while the dog is carrying it, still Brahmanena api bhuktavyam, it is fit to be eaten even by a Brahmana. Itaresham tu kakatha, what to speak about other people, even a Brahmana can eat it. Even if a dog is carrying Jagannath Prasad in his mouth, and if it falls from his mouth, still even a Brahmana can eat it. What to speak of others? So this is the translation. If the Maha-prasad of the Lord drops down from the mouth of a dog while it is carried away, it can be eaten even by a Brahmana. What then to speak of others? So this is the supreme glory of Maha-prasad. So Maha-prasade Govinde Nam Brahmani Vaishnave Svalpa Punya Vatam Rajan Vishwaso Naiva Jayate. People who have very less amount of piety, these people cannot have faith in Maha-prasad of the Lord. But these are the glories of Maha-prasad that are described in the Shastra. Now, there is something very unique about Maha-prasadam, and that happens especially when Maha-prasad and Ekadashi come together. So when Maha-prasad and Ekadashi come together, there is a sort of tug of war that takes place as to what is greater. Consuming Maha-prasadam is greater, or performing Ekadashi is greater. So what leads to greater devotion? Consumption of Maha-prasadam or following the Ekadashi vow? So in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, there is a very surprising statement regarding this. So Hari Bhakti Vilas, 9th Vilas, 9th chapter, there is a verse quoted. This verse is as follows. Ekadashi sahasraistu maso poshana kotibhi tat phalam prapyate pumbhi vishnor naivedya bhakshanat. Ekadashi sahasraistu. If you take thousands of Ekadashis, Mas uposhana kotibhi, and tens of millions of monthly fasts which occur every month, like Narsingh Chaturdashi, Janmashtami, etc. You take millions of such fasts. Tat phalam prapyate pumbhi. So the result of all these fasts is attained easily by any human being. How? Vishnor naivedya bhakshana, by eating Maha-prasad of the Lord. Very surprising verse. So by eating the Maha-prasad of the Lord, one attains the same devotional piety that one attains by following thousands of Ekadashis and millions of monthly vows such as Janmashtami, Narsingh Chaturdashi, etc. So this is the translation. By consuming the remnants of Lord Vishnu, humans get the result of performing thousands of Ekadashis and millions of monthly fasts. So as a result of such statements, we might have seen there are many individuals, especially the Dhamvasis in Jagannath Puri, especially the pujaris of the Jagannath temple, they do not perform any Ekadashi fast. So this is what is seen in Jagannath Puri, that they do not perform any Ekadashi fasting. In fact, on Ekadashi day, they do not fast. There is a special deity of Ekadashi which they have tied up behind the temple, and she is hanging upside down. So the deity of Ekadashi has been tied up in Jagannath Puri and she is hanging upside down, and nobody performs, the Dhamvasis in Puri, they usually don't perform Ekadashi. Why? Because there are statements like this in the Shastra. So this tradition is also seen in Jagannath Puri. Maha-prasad is so glorified, so glorious, that by consuming Maha-prasad, you get the result of following thousands of Ekadashis and millions of monthly fasts. So, question is, why should we follow Ekadashi then? Why should we not take this glory of Maha-prasad? And why should we not consume Maha-prasad on Ekadashi? So this should be discussed thoroughly as to what is Maha-prasad, what is Ekadashi, what should we decide. Should we take Maha-prasad or should we follow Ekadashi? But seeing such glories of Maha-prasadam, there are many Vaishnava Sampradayas which do not follow Ekadashi at all, simply because of such glories of Maha-prasadam that are described in the Shastra. For example, there is a Sampradaya in Vrindavan called as Radha Vallabha Sampradaya. In the Radha Vallabha Sampradaya, there was a devotee poet. His name is Shri Hariram Vyas. Now, Shri Hariram Vyas, he has written a particular poem, and this poem is in Braja Bhasha. He says, Hamara Jivan Muri Prashad, Atulita Mahima Kahat Bhagavat, Metat Sava Pratibad, Hamara Jivan Muri Prasad. He says, my life is Muri Prasad. Muri Prasad is that, flat rice prasad. So, Anna Prasad. Atulita Mahima Kahata Bhagavat. Srimad Bhagavatam describes unlimited glories of such prasad. Therefore, Metata Saba Pratibhat. Therefore, all opposing arguments are destroyed simply by the statement from the Bhagavatam. Then he says, Jo Shatamas Vratani ki nefal ek seeth ke swad. Jo Shatamas Vratani ki. So, if you follow austerities and vows for 6 months, the result that you get, ek seeth ke swad, that same result you get simply by consuming 1 grain of Maha-prasad. Darshana Papa Nasat Khatas. Simply by seeing Maha-prasad, Papa Nasat, all your sins are driven. Khatasuk, what to speak if you eat Maha-prasad? Suk, you will have happiness. Parasata Mitat Vishad. Parasata, if you serve to others, Mitat Vishad, all your unhappiness will go away. Det let jo karai another. But anybody who disrespects Maha-prasad while giving and accepting, so nar adhamagavad, that is a lowly person, foolish person, just like an animal. Shri Hari Vamsha Pratapa Vyasa Yaha. By the mercy of Shri Hit Hari Vamsh. Hit Hari Vamsh is one of the original acharyas of the Radha Vallabha Sampradaya. Pratap by his mercy, by his power. Vyasa yah rasapa yav anhar. So this Hariram Vyas by his mercy attained this Maha-prasad ras, unlimited Maha-prasad ras. So you see, this is attitude of some sampradayas in Vrindavan towards Ekadashi and Maha-prasad. They consider Maha-prasad to be so supremely glorious that they consider Ekadashi to be very of negligible value in front of Maha-prasad. This is the translation. He says, Muri Prasad of rice prasad is my life. Hamara ji. Its unparalleled glories are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. If somebody asks him where in Srimad Bhagavatam, so I tried to find out. There is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.6.46 which describes the glories of Maha-prasad. This is 11.6.46. Payopabhukta sragandha vasu lankar charchita uchishta bhojino Dāsa stavavayam jayemahi. Translation. Simply by decorating ourselves with the garlands, fragrant oils, clothes and ornaments that we have already enjoyed, and by eating the remnants of your meals, Sri Maha-prasad, we, your servants, will indeed conquer your illusory energy. Tava mayam jayema, we will conquer, certainly conquer your maya. So how can one fall into maya by eating Maha-prasad? This is the argument of Hariram Vyas. So going back to the translation. So its unparalleled glories are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, thus all counter-arguments are destroyed automatically. The result of 6 months of fasting are attained by tasting 1 grain of Maha-prasad rice. By seeing such Maha-prasad, all sins are destroyed, and by eating it, great happiness is attained. By serving Maha-prasad, all dejection is removed. One who shows disrespect while serving and accepting Maha-prasad is the lowest of all humans. By the mercy of Sri Hit Harivamsh, this Hariram Vyas attained limitless prasad. So this is from his Vani of Hariram Vyas. Now, somebody may say, well, here he is describing the glories of Maha-prasad. He has not spoken anything about Ekadashi here. But indirectly, we can understand that he is speaking about the glories of Maha-prasad, in all circumstances. He also wrote a specific verse about Ekadashi, specific poem about Ekadashi and Maha-prasad. So Hariram Vyas wrote, Rakhe vrat Ekadashi Maha-prasad te dur te nar jamapur janige mukh mein parihe dur. Rakhe vrat Ekadashi, those humans who keep Ekadashi, Maha-prasad te dur, and stay away from Maha-prasad on Ekadashi, they nar jamapur jahenge, they will certainly attain the abode of Yamaraj. Mukh mein parihe dur, and their mouths will be filled with dirt. So such extreme dedication to Maha-prasad that they will not even follow Ekadashi. So some sampradayas are like this. Once I visited Shri Nathdwara in Rajasthan, and it happened to be a day of Ekadashi. So I innocently was thinking that today is Ekadashi, I will get some Ekadashi prasad in Shri Nathdwara. But when I went to Shri Nathdwara, there are many shops which give prasad. So it was very difficult. Almost no shop had Ekadashi prasad on Ekadashi. So some Vaishnava Sampradayas, they do not follow Ekadashi because they consider the glories of consuming Maha-prasad to be much greater than the glories of following Ekadashi. Now, what to speak of other Sampradayas? Let's come back to our own Hari Bhakti Vilas. Sri Gopal Bhatt Goswami has written in Hari Bhakti Vilas that Ekadashi Sahasraistu Maso Poshana Kotivi Tat Phalam Prapyate Kumbhi Vishnor Naivedya Bhakshana. That by consuming remnants of Lord Vishnu, by consuming basically Maha-prasad, humans get the result of performing thousands of Ekadashis and millions of monthly fasts. So somebody may point this out to us and say, see, even in Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, it is said that consuming Maha-prasad is much better than following Ekadashi. So why do you devotees follow Ekadashi? Why do you not consume Maha-prasad, on Ekadashi? Have a normal no fasting rule. So in reply to this, we have to say something. So what can we say in reply to this? So in reply to this, we will say something very simple. We will say that, see, first and foremost, our Sampradaya, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Adhisthata Dev, or he is the presiding deity in the Sampradaya, and Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's personal behavior was such that even though Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the final part of his pastimes was staying in Jagannath Puri, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never consumed Jagannath Prasad on Ekadashi. Whenever he would get Jagannath Prasad on Ekadashi, a few times the Pandas, they gave him Jagannath Prasad on Ekadashi. He respectfully touched that Jagannath Prasadam to his head and he kept it for Dwadashi. So he consumed that Jagannath Prasadam on Dwadashi. So this was the attitude displayed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as well as his followers when they were staying in Jagannath Puri. Still, this verse is there in Hari Bhakti Vilas, and this verse has been compiled by our Acharya, Sri Gopal Bhatt Goswami. So how do we understand this verse? So we understand this verse by, seeing the commentary that Sri Sanatan Goswami has given on this particular verse. And what has Sri Sanatan Goswami said about this particular verse? This we will see in his commentary. So if we see his commentary by Sri Sanatan Goswami, we will notice something. What does Sanatan Goswami say in his commentary? So Sri Sanatan Goswami says, Ekadashi Sahasrai iti anena tad vrataganad api bhagavan naivedya bhakshanasya mahatmyam adhikam uktam. So what does he say? Ekadashi Sahasrai iti. Our verse was about thousands of Ekadashis. So iti anena tad vrataganad api bhagavan naivedya bhakshanasya mahatmyam adhikam uktam. So the translation is that in this verse, the glories of eating Maha-prasad of the Lord are described as being greater than the glories of executing Ekadashi vows. So first and foremost, Sri Sanatan Goswami, he describes the general mood of the verse, that the glories of eating Maha-prasad is described as being greater than the glories of executing Ekadashi vows. Okay. So what Sanatan Goswami? Then Sanatan Goswami continues and says, Yaccha agre bhagavata lakshana lekhyam kanda vachanam. So ahead there will be a verse from Skanda Puran quoted. What verse will be quoted? Pranatyayena chashnanti dinam prapya harer narah. That prana atyaye, even if their life is in danger, na cha ashnanti dinam prapya harer narah. There are some individuals who will not eat on Ekadashi even if their life is in danger. Iti tad bhagwan Maha-prasada vyatiriktam iti gyeya. So there will be a verse ahead which says that those people who don't eat on Ekadashi, even if their life is in danger, these people are Bhagavatas. They are devotees. So Sanatan Goswami says, but they do not eat what? So that statement which will be spoken ahead is Maha-prasada vyatiriktam. It's not about Maha-prasad. Those who do not eat, non-offered food on Ekadashi, they are known as Bhagavata. That should be understood. So once again, ahead in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, it will be said that those individuals who do not eat on Ekadashi, even if faced with death, are known as Bhagavatas. Now, this statement should be understood to be referring to eating food besides Maha-prasad. But Vaishnavas, don't eat such food. Somebody may say, Vaishnavas don't eat unoffered food. So why are you going in this direction, Sanatana Goswami? Somebody may ask. Sanatana Goswami says, Na cha vaktavyam Vaishnavanam anivedita bhakshanam sada nishiddham evet. So he says, one should not say that unoffered food is always forbidden for the Vaishnavas. Here, one should not give this line of argument. Why yatas? Because the statement quoted previously about not eating on Ekadashi even when faced with death was not pertaining to Vaishnavas. That statement, which was quoted previously and which will come ahead, that one who does not eat on Ekadashi even when faced with death is a Vaishnava. That statement is not about a practicing Vaishnava. It's just a general statement that any human who may not be a Vaishnava till now, but if he does not eat on Ekadashi, he becomes known as a Vaishnava. That person. So that person who is, who is not yet a Vaishnava, but who does not consume food on Ekadashi even when, faced with death, that person becomes known as a Bhagavata, a Vaishnava. So that is how that statement should be understood. So somebody may say, so Sanatana Goswami, what are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that we can consume Maha-prasad on Ekadashi? So Sanatana Goswami says ahead, Yadva Bhagavad Bhakti Reva Tad Vratam Iti Buddhya Bhagavad Priti Apekshya Tatra Maha-prasad Anna Bhakshanena Pina Dosha Kopi Prasajyet Iti Keshamchit Satam Matam. So Sri Sanatana Goswami says ahead that some sadhus say, please note this thing. Why did I go in this line of thought? Some sadhus say that Ekadashi is nothing but extra performance of bhakti, upavas, extra bhakti, and pleasing the Lord. And thus, in order to please the Lord, because eating Maha-prasad is also pleasure of the Lord, therefore there is no fault in consuming Maha-prasad on such days like Ekadashi. And he says some sadhus, Kesham Chit Satam Matam, some sadhus say like this. So Sanatana Goswami is showing that opinion without passing any comment whether it is bona fide or not. He says some Satam Matam, sadhus, some sadhus say. By saying Satam, he is acknowledging that these people are also sadhus. So some sadhus say that, in order to attain pleasure of the Lord, even if you eat Maha-prasad Anna on Ekadashi, there is no major fault. There is no such fault basically. So Sanatana Goswami, while acknowledging this opinion, is clearly putting himself aside. Some sadhus say, he don't say, some sadhus say. He is clearly distinguishing himself from that particular opinion. Now, so what do you believe, Sanatana Goswami, finally? What is your conclusion? So Sanatana Goswami says, Tatascha etad vachanam naivedya mahatmya param eva. Na tu tad vrata nishedakam timatta. He says such statements about Maha-prasad being greater than Ekadashi are to be understood as, describing the glories of Maha-prasad on days besides Ekadashi. These statements should not be understood to imply that fasting is forbidden on Ekadashi. So please don't take these statements, to imply that fasting is forbidden on Ekadashi. These statements are only to glorify Maha-prasad. These statements should not be interpreted to say that Ekadashi should not be followed by Vaishnavas. So this is the side which Sanatana Goswami is taking. So basically Sanatana Goswami is favoring the side that one should not consume Maha-prasad on Ekadashi, basically. So this is what we see in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. This is what we see in all the acharyas. So we can consume Maha-prasad on all other days besides Ekadashi and besides fasting days, such as Janmashtami, etc. But on fasting days, we should not consume Maha-prasad. Then somebody may say, what about those people, in the past, those acharyas were also great, who consumed Maha-prasad on Ekadashi. What can be said about them? So Sri Sanatana Goswami says, Yatva, or you can say something like this, Nija Vishwasa Visheshena Bhagavad Adharamrita Maha-prasada Bhutya Tad Annadi Upabhogo Bhakti Rupad Api Ekadashi Vratat Ekantinam Parama Phalatvena Upadeya Iti Yuktam. because they have a special type of faith. So previous acharyas who took Maha-prasad like this on Ekadashi, they had a very special type of faith in which, they were thinking that this is directly the lip nectar of Bhagwan. And in this way, they consumed Maha-prasad anna, grains. But they were one-pointed devotees. He clearly says, Ekanti now. So they were one-pointed devotees, Bhajananandis. So for them, it is supremely fruitful and it is greater than following Ekadashi. So in the case of such Ekanti, one-pointed devotees, consuming Maha-prasad with the mindset that this is directly the lip nectar of Bhagwan is okay, is allowed. But we should not make it into a general rule. Definitely not. So Sri Sanatana Goswami takes a soft stance by saying that that is also okay if it is done by some great elevated people, but one should not use this statement to avoid Ekadashi fasting. So this is the soft stance taken by Sri Sanatana Goswami in Hari Bhakti Vilas commentary 9.408. Shri Jiva Goswami, Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur take a hard stance, because by the time Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur came, so these other sampradayas such as Radha Vallabh Sampradaya, their influence, it grew so much that people in general, new sadhakas also started avoiding Ekadashi. Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur thought about the issue very deeply. And he went to the root of the issue. Why are some sadhakas from other sampradayas avoiding Ekadashi? So it's not only because they consider Maha-prasad to be greater than Ekadashi. It's also because some of them are thinking that now just because I have taken initiation in this Vaishnava Sampradaya, so now I am like a direct associate of Krishna. Now I am like a Vrajavasi. So because Nanda Maharaj and Vrajavasis, they rarely followed Ekadashi. They never followed Ekadashi. The Vrajavasis especially, there is no documentation of them following Ekadashi. So why should we follow Ekadashi? The Vrajavasis did not worship Shaligram Shila. So why should we worship Shaligram Shila? The Vrajavasis never worshipped Tulsi. So why should we worship Tulsi? So this trend started growing later in Vrindavan by the time of Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So in the commentary on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur made a very strong statement. It says, Tabhir Guru Padashrayana Ekadashi Vrata. And so he's mentioning about these limbs, Shalagrama Tulasi Sevadayo Nakrita. So Tabhir, by those Vrajavasis, they did not do Guru Padashraya, they did not take shelter of the feet of a Guru, Ekadashi Vrata, Shaligram Tulasi Seva, they did not do all these things. Tad Anugatair Asmabhirapi na Kartavya. So we are followers of Vrajavasis, so we should also not do. Iti Adhunika Sauramya Matamapi Nirastam. This opinion is defeated in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So he says there is a newly found opinion, the Adhunika Mata, that Vrajavasis did not take shelter of a Guru, follow Ekadashi or perform service to Tulsi, Shaligram, etc. And since because we are followers of Vrajavasis, we too will not undertake these activities. This opinion is conclusively defeated in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So where in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in the commentary by Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami also says in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, An Anushthānatah dosho bhaktyangānām prajāyate. By not following the limbs of Bhakti, one of the limbs of Bhakti is to fast on Ekadashi, Janmashtami, etc. So, An Anushthānatah dosho bhaktyangānām prajāyate. By not following limbs of Bhakti, there is great fault that occurs. So therefore, in our sampradaya, we should follow Ekadashi. So somebody may say, well, eating Maha-prasad is also one of the limbs of Bhakti. So by not eating Maha-prasad on Ekadashi also, there will be a fault. No, because Sanatana Goswami has said that, eating Maha-prasad is to be done on other days. On the strength of Maha-prasad, one should not avoid Ekadashi. So we consume Maha-prasad. It's not that we don't consume Maha-prasad. We consume Maha-prasad on, 14 out of the 15 days in the fortnight. But one day we do not consume because that one day Ekadashi is to be given special respect. So this, dear devotees, is about the position of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya in relation to Maha-prasadam and Ekadashi and comparison with some other Sampradayas. So this was about Maha-prasadam and Ekadashi. But when it is not Ekadashi and it's Dvadashi, other days when we can happily honor Maha-prasadam, so there are some simple rules which we should observe while honoring Jagannatha Maha-prasad. I am specifically speaking about Jagannath Puri Maha-prasad. When we go to Jagannath Puri or if we receive any Maha-prasadam from Jagannath Puri, there are some etiquette which we should follow. What etiquette should we follow? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed that etiquette. First and foremost, we should sit on the floor and consume Jagannath Maha-prasad. You see how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is seated? Sitting on the floor and consuming Jagannath Maha-prasad. So that is how Jagannath Maha-prasad should be consumed, by sitting on the floor. Second, remove shoes. So Jagannath Maha-prasad should not be consumed with shoes on. Jagannath Maha-prasad is non-different from Jagannath, and while honoring Jagannath, one should not put on one's shoes. Third, do not discriminate between varnas and ashramas. In serving Jagannath Maha-prasad, don't serve sannyasis first, brahmacharis second, and then the fallen grihasthas at the very end. Don't discriminate like this. In Jagannath Puri, this tradition is not there. In Jagannath Puri, the Brahmana and the Shudra, they sit together while honoring Jagannath Maha-prasad. So everybody should sit together. There should be no discrimination between varna and ashrama. Who will be given preference, who will not be given preference, no, nothing like that. So discrimination should not be there while giving Maha-prasadam. Next, the plate should be kept on the same level or a level above where we are seated. So if we can keep the plate above our level, that is also good, or we should keep the plate at least on the same level on which we are seated. We should never keep the plate on a level lower than where we are seated. Sometimes we are seated on an elevated and the plate is just below us. So that should not happen while honoring Jagannath Maha-prasad. Finally, do not waste Jagannath Maha-prasad. Please take only as much as you can consume. So in general, these are some etiquettes for honoring Jagannath Maha-prasadam. So this was a short attempt to glorify Sri Jagannath Maha-prasadam. There are many aspects of Jagannath Maha-prasadam, how it is cooked, where it is cooked. But today's topic was about the glories of Maha-prasadam. So I tried to focus more in that direction. But there are many other aspects of Maha-prasadam and many more glories which cannot be covered in this small session. But always we should remember that we should follow our Ekadashi vows and we should consume Maha-prasadam on other days. There is absolutely no harm in consuming Maha-prasadam on normal regular days. In fact, it is very much encouraged. Consume Jagannath Maha-prasadam as much as you want. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur quotes a very beautiful verse in a literature named Amanaya Sutra. So Sri Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, Vairagya bhoga viti bhakti madhye sthita udasinataya khaludvav Maha-prasada grahanantu nityam bhogah kadachit khalu bhakti reva. Vairagya bhoga viti bhakti madhye sthita udasinataya khaludvav. Actually, bhoga, too much material enjoyment, and vairagya, too much detachment. Bhakti madhye, they are actually dependent on bhakti. Independent of bhakti, they have no value. Bhoga and tyaga, attachment and renunciation, enjoyment and renunciation, they have no value without bhakti. Udasinataya kharudvav. Maha-prasada grahanam tu nityam. Every time consuming Maha-prasad, bhoga, it externally may appear to be bhoga. Kadachit. Sometimes it may appear to be bhoga, a person is eating too much Maha-prasad, but khalu bhakti reva. But actually it is nothing but bhakti. Nothing but bhakti. So consume as much Maha-prasad as you want your devotees on days in which there is no fasting. So this, dear devotees, is the glory of Sri Jagannatha Maha-prasad. With this, I would like to conclude my speech. Yadatra skharidam kinchid vidvam saha purayantu tat. Yadatra saushtavam kinchid tad guroreva mena. Yadatra skharidam kinchid. If there is any mistake in my presentation, vidvam saha, you are all learned people, purayantu tat. You please correct any mistakes. Yadatra saushtavam kinchid. But if there's anything nice in the presentation, a single slide, a single verse, a single word, a single alphabet, or half a syllable also, if it was nice, tad guru rega. It belongs to my Gurujanas, me nahi. It doesn't belong to me. So thank you once again, dear devotees. Thank you, Jagannath Prabhu. Thank you so much, Madhupati Prabhu, all the other wonderful devotees for kindly inviting me here today. Very grateful for the kind invitation. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for philosophically taking us to the glories by quoting so many powerful scriptures and clearing the doubt in our mind around the ability to renounce in the form of Tyaga, and Ekadasi is one such thing, and how that is contradictory. And I was very clear personally. So for the benefit of everyone, if you can kindly, if you have a question, kindly unmute, ask the question and then mute. And Prabhuji, can we take 5-10 minutes of question? If
yeah, even more than that if required. I'm here to.
Okay, bro. So Amritan Prabhu, please unmute and ask the question. Amritan Prabhu, you have raised your hand. You can unmute, I think. Or should I have to unmute? Let me check.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah. Please accept humble obeisance. All glories to Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhu. That was wonderful. My question is related to Maha-prasad and Prasad. So Prabhupada said foodstuff offered to the Lord is Maha-prasad. And then in the other slide, we learn that the process is they give little offerings and then that is offered to Shri Bimla Devi. And then it becomes Maha-prasad. But shouldn't it be Maha-prasad when it is first offered to the Lord itself?
Yeah, so that is the general meaning of Maha-prasad. What is the general meaning of Maha-prasad? As soon as you mix tulsi in it, as soon as you sprinkle, water on it and offer to the Lord, it becomes known as Maha-prasad. But in Jagannath Puri, the term has taken on a special meaning. So the special meaning is only in the context of Jagannath Puri. That's all that has to be said. Okay, otherwise, the general meaning of Maha-prasad, that is that any food which is mixed with tulsi offered to the Lord, that becomes known as Maha-prasad. So that is what it is.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Malati Priya Mataji, if you want to unmute and ask your question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thanks for the wonderful lecture. It was a nectar hearing these past shlokas that you quoted. Prabhu, so I just want to make sure I get this right. So even if you're in Jagannath Puri and if it's Ekadashi, your advice is to not honor Maha-prasadam and then keep the fast on Ekadashi, even if you're in Jagannath Puri, right?
So even if this is the practice of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, even if it is Ekadashi, even if we are in Jagannath Puri, we should observe Ekadashi and we should honor Maha-prasad only on Ekadashi.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Prabhu, in other, sorry, one more question. In one of the books I read that you have to offer the Maha-prasad to Lord Shiva because he really likes the Maha-prasadam. So is that also considered Maha-prasadam because Lord Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava. He likes to offer, and that's how Jagannātha-prasadam became Jagannātha-prasadam, right? Because Shiva, and on Narada's giving it to Shiva, a morsel of Jagannātha-prasadam, it became Maha-prasadam.
Right. So yeah, that pastime is there in Chaitanya Mangal, that it became Maha-prasadam and Maha-prasadam. So yes, there is a tradition, some devotees offer it to Lord Shiva also. And through Lakshmi Devi, it is offered to all the living entities. The Chaitanya Mangal itself says that through Lakshmi Devi, it is offered to all the living entities in the universe, because all the living entities wanted to have that Maha-prasadam. So basically, the more more devotional we want to make it, we can offer it to Lord Shiva also, considering him as the greatest Vaishnava. So in this way, some devotees have this feeling, this mood, so they can do that. But otherwise, directly also Jagannātha-prasadam can be consumed. Because why? Because it has first been offered to Bimla Devi. So obviously Bimla Devi has not kept it for herself. She has also offered it to Lord Shiva. So therefore, Maha-prasadam can be directly consumed. So I hope that clarifies.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Yeah. Nilachala Chandrika Mataji, if you would like to unmute and ask a question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much for the wonderful class. I want to know, since in Radha Vallabh Sampradaya, it is as per Hari Ram Vyas Acharya, whatever their Sampradaya. But being from a Pushti Marg, like what is Vallabh Acharya teaching on this lines? Than not keeping Ekadashi.
Well, as far as I know, originally in the Pushti Marg Sampradaya also, those who are followers of Maryada Marg, because the Pushti Marg Sampradaya has this concept of Maryada and Pushti. So Maryada means strict following of Vaidhi Bhakti. So those who are Maryada Jivas means those who are following the path of Shastra strictly, they follow Ekadashi. And those who are Pushti Jivas, for them, I have not seen any specific rule mentioned. So that is what I have seen in general.
Okay, because some Pushti Margis keep and some don't keep. So
yeah.
Are they being together, or they're like?
Yeah, because there is Bheda. There is difference amongst the living entities. This Bheda is clarified in a literature called as Pushti Pravaha Maryada Bhed. It is one of the Shodash Granthas, 16 literature written by Sri Vallabhacharya. In this, he has said that some jivas are Pushti jivas, some jivas are Pravaha jivas, some jivas are Maryada jivas. So some jivas are combination of Pushti and Maryada, some jivas are purely Pushti, some jivas are purely Maryada. So based on that, those different living entities surrender to the Lord in different ways. But for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, it's clear that we have a sadhaka deha. Sadhaka deha means a body in which we are sadhana. So in the sadhaka deha, we are supposed to follow sadhan bhakti, and limbs of Vaidhi bhakti such as Ekadashi should be followed even if we are Raganuga bhaktis. So that we should continue to follow. That is very clearly pronounced by our Gaudiya Vaishnavas.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
So now Taruni Radha Mataji has a question, followed by Madhupati Prabhu, who will ask a question. So Taruni Radha Mataji, you can go ahead, and Nilach Chandrika Mataji, if you could lower your hand, unless you have a further question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for this beautiful class. My question was, is there any difference between the Maha-prasadam that we get in Jagannath Puri versus the Maha-prasadam that we consume at our ISKCON temples?
Is there any difference between the Maha-prasadam that we get at Jagannath Puri and the Maha-prasadam?
Because it's Krishna, both places it is Sakshat Krishna, right? So just had this.
Yeah. So actually, one should not differentiate between one Maha-prasad and other Maha-prasad. But there is no distinction between Maha-prasad and Maha-prasad. But at the same time, there are places in Shastra wherein Jagannath Prasad is considered to be very superior to other types of offerings. Also, from a practical point of view, the Maha-prasad in Jagannath Puri is offered directly by the Dhamvasis, the pujaris of Lord Jagannath. So that specialty is always going to be there. And it is offered according to the eternal traditions mentioned in the various books such as Madala Panji. So that specialty is always going to be there for the Dham. So that specialty should be acknowledged. So, and also because Lord Jagannath is originally a resident of Jagannath Puri. So the glory of the geographical location of Puri is also there in that Jagannath. Although in general one should not distinguish too much between one Maha-prasad and another Maha-prasad, still there are some specialties of Maha-prasad obtained from Jagannath Puri. Another distinction is that Shri Lakshmi herself cooks Maha-prasad in Jagannath Puri. So that may not be the case in other places. So although I don't want to distinguish too much because I don't want to trivialize the glory of Maha-prasad cooked elsewhere, but still you can also understand, I can also understand that there is something special about Jagannath Maha-prasad. So I hope that clarifies.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Madhupati Prabhu, if you'd like to ask a question, followed by Jayaprakash Prabhu.
Thank you, Hari Parshad Prabhu. So nice hearing you. Sorry, I have to kind of rush to a wedding or something, but quick question I had. Now, we also have a concept of Ekadasi Maha-prasad,
Right.
where Maha-prasad, on the day of Ekadasi items are offered to the Supreme Lord. So we'd like to hear from you, because you mentioned about the Maha-prasad and you mentioned about Ekadasi, that Ekadasi supersedes, especially in Gaudiya Sampradaya, Maha-prasad.
So on Ekadashi day, usually the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the strictest line of thought is to not consume anything. That is the strictest line of thought in Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. And complete fasting. So then what should we offer to the Lord? So we should offer Anna, regular Anna Prasad to the Lord on Ekadashi also, because the Lord is not affected by any particular sin of eating Anna on Ekadashi. So we should offer regular grains to the Lord on Ekadashi, and we can consume those on Dvadashi, or we can feed it to other living entities. And if we cook something on Ekadashi, so there is a term for it which is called as Anukalpa. If we cook some Anukalpa on Ekadashi, then that Anukalpa can also be offered to the Lord, because Bhagwan himself has said, Yad karoshi, yad ashnasi, yad juhoshi, dadasi, yad tapasyasi, konteya, tat kurishwa madarpanam. Whatever you eat, do that as an offering unto me. So obviously Ekadashi, whatever is cooked for Ekadashi should also be offered. But that should not necessarily be the only offering given to the Lord on that day, because the Lord can always consume Anna Prasad even on Ekadashi, Anna Bhog even on Ekadashi. So that is my answer to your query. I hope it satisfies your query.
Yes, thank you very much, Hari Prasad Prabhu. And that's what normally our temples follow, that Lord does not follow Ekadasi, so we do offer grains Anna to the Lord on Ekadasi. But at the same time, there are some Ekadasi items also offered. So, okay.
Yes, that is good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jayaprakash Prabhu, you can ask a question.
Yeah, Hari Bol Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Thank you for your class. Yeah, so you do mention about that when you were visiting to the Srinathji Dham and you were not able to find any Ekadashi, Maha-prasada, Parshad. So same way, if devotees are traveling to different dham, Jagannath Puri or Srinathji or whatever, what they should do, Prabhuji?
So then if they are not able to find something, like I didn't say that I didn't find anything. I found something with great difficulty. Like 99% of the shops were not giving Ekadashi Prasadam in Srinathwara when I went there. And then because it is, I'm not saying it as a fault. It may be their tradition to not. So I am nobody to judge anyone, but I could not find anything of Ekadashi easily there. So what should we do in such situations? Find a fruit seller, take some fruits. If you want to consume anything on Ekadashi, find a fruit seller, consume some fruits. Or you can take some roots, you can take some milk. So Hari Bhakti Vilas says that many things don't break a fast. Ashtaitani abrata gnani, apo moolam phalam paya, avir brahmana kamyam cha guror vachanam aushadam. So there are 8 things which don't break a fast. Apaha, water, moolam, roots, phalam, fruits, paya, milk, avihi, anything which is offered in sacrifice, yagya, brahmana kamyam cha, anything which brahmana asks you to eat, gurur vachanam, anything which the guru asks you to eat, aushadam, medicine. These 8 things they don't break a fast. Hari Bhakti Vilas 12th chapter, verse number 100. So point is, you can take fruits, milk, etc. So I hope that clarifies.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Acharya Prabhu, you can ask a question followed by, looks like Tarun Radha Mataji has another question, but Mataji can go after Acharya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanva Pranam. So Prabhuji, my question is that what to do if you are not able to consume the Maha-prasad? Means, especially on the US, we don't have animal or other, as in living entity, you have to give prasad. So what the aparadh we get if we not able to consume the Maha-prasad?
Speaking of Jagannatha Maha-prasad or just any
Or any Maha-prasad? Maha-prasad offered the
if we are not able to consume, so what we should do is, there are always some places where other birds, etc. gather to eat. If we keep some food in the open, usually there are birds, usually there are some animals who will come and eat. So we can try to keep it for a day or two like that in a place where those who want to eat, those entities who want to eat can eat it. And otherwise, if no entities eat it, then obviously it is going to stay there. So we should try to avoid that situation where nobody eats it. So usually a place where birds, etc. can eat it, that place should be found. So, or, sometimes some temples also, they have a nearby Goshala. So if that is possible, that is also good. Or sometimes we can give it to those who are begging on the streets, homeless people. So we can definitely, if we try hard enough to find some way, definitely we can find many ways of distributing. So I hope that shed some light on it.
Hari Bol.
Radha Mataji, ask your question followed by Nilachal Chandrika Mataji, who has another question as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. My second question is regarding, you said that consuming medicines don't break the fast. So what about Nirjal Ekadashi, when we have to take the medicine with water? Is it still okay, or does it break the fast?
Water doesn't break the fast, medicine doesn't break the fast. So combination of both will obviously not break the fast.
Even on Pandav Nirjal, right?
See, Pandav Nirjala Ekadashi is specifically meant for, it's it is considered as a very potent Ekadashi, for it gives the result of all other Ekadashis. So basically, one should try to follow this Ekadashi, and if there is some medicine, one can definitely make an exception for the medicine on one day, unless somebody is really in need of medicine. So on all other Ekadashis, some exception for medicine can be made if taking the medicine is really required. But Pandav Nirjal Ekadashi, if possible, we should skip the medicine, because it comes once a year. So more preference should be given to following the Ekadashi strictly. But if there is some patient who is really in serious need of everyday medicine, then they can take the medicine on Ekadashi. I'll show you the verse. This is Hari Bhakti Vilas 12.100. Ashtaitani avrataghnani. These 8 things don't break a fast. Apaha, water. Moolam, root. Phalam, fruit. Payah, milk. Pavihi, anything offered in a fire sacrifice. Brahmana kamyacha, and anything which a Brahman desires us to eat. Guru or Vachana, the word of a Guru. Pārṣada, medicine. So this is quote from Mahabharata in Hari Bhakti Vilas. But that Pandav Nirjala Ekadashi is specifically meant for following strictly. If we can go without medicine on that day, it is very nice. But if we cannot do that, then there is no option. So I hope that clarifies.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
So probably we'll have the last question from Nilachi Chandrika Mataji, and then we'll end the class.
Sure.
Hare Krishna,
Mataji.
Prabhuji, sorry. I have another question. What if on Ekadashi we offer non-Ekadashi, Dwadashi food to others? Like somebody comes at the door and you have something, nothing to offer, but not Ekadashi, but you have something of Dwadashi. Is it okay, or let them go without any prasad, or give them Dwadashi? But provided we tell them that this is not.
This dilemma has been there in front of me also. Usually what I do is on Ekadashi, if there is some Anna Prashad, I give to living entities besides human beings. Because mainly that condition of Ekadashi is applicable to human beings. In some cases I have given Anna Prashad on Ekadashi to some non-devotees, but I have told them that this should be consumed tomorrow, not today. That's all. That's how I give it. So,
but if they have it on the same day because they don't keep it, so you get the reaction?
No, you told them, na, it is not supposed to be consumed today. Supposed to be consumed tomorrow. So your duty is done when you told them this much. And they don't follow it still, then it's up to them. Because the fault is accrued by the eater, not by the donor. Otherwise, what will happen? The person who sold the rice will also get the fault. So that doesn't accrue. The seller doesn't accrue the fault. The donor doesn't accrue the fault. But the donor, in order to ensure that spiritual benefit, he should tell the innocent person that today is a fasting day, so it is best if you consume this tomorrow. Still, if somebody goes ahead and consumes, now the fault will accrue upon the person who has consumed.
Okay. And one more small question. For us who follow Ekadashi, is it okay to buy anna from the market, buying also, but you don't consume?
Yeah, sure, you can buy on Ekadashi.
We can buy.
You can plant seed on Ekadashi. You can water it on Ekadashi. It can grow on Ekadashi. It can be cultivated on Ekadashi. It can be transported on Ekadashi. It can be sold and purchased on Ekadashi, but it cannot be. It can be cooked on Ekadashi, but it cannot be consumed on Ekadashi.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So, Simeswar Prabhu, you have probably going to be the final question. If you can go ahead. Simeswar Prabhu, unmute.
Sorry, yeah, okay. Hare Krishna, are you able to hear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, Hare Krishna, Hare Parshad Prabhuji, then Lord Pranam, all goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for a very enlightening and very much informational. Thank you so much. My question is this one. So we are fasting on Ekadashi, unknowingly or accidentally by mistake, is break. I mean, they consume something, one devotee was asking, but they just by mistake, they took something, not realizing. So what is the atonement on if somebody, goes through that situation? What they have to do?
What is the atonement? Okay. So, actually speaking, there are some atonements mentioned in non-devotional literature for accidentally breaking Ekadashi. So, I'll try to find. There is one literature called as Nirnaya Sindhu. The Nirnaya Sindhu mentions atonement that you fast on Dwadashi, complete fasting on Dwadashi. But that is not a literature meant specifically for Vaishnavas. Sri Rupa Goswami says something in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu This is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-64. Nishiddha acharato daivat prayaschittam tu na uchitam. Iti Vaishnava Shastranam rahasyam tadvidam matam. Nishiddha acharato. If some forbidden activity occurs, daivat, by misfortune. Prayaschittam tu na uchitam. There is no prayaschitta. There is no atonement for a Vaishnava. So if some mistake occurs by mistake, not purposely, if by mistake it has happened, then there is no atonement needed. Iti Vaishnava Shastranam Rahasyam. This is a secret, and so please keep it a secret. I told you because you are a Vaishnava. So, Iti Vaishnava Shastranam Rahasyam. Tad Vidam Matam. So those who know the Vaishnava Shastras, they have this opinion that separately you don't need any prayaschitta if by mistake it has happened. But if it has happened by purpose, then of the verse above it, an-anushthanato. By purpose you have not kept the anushtan, you have not kept the vow. Tosho, bhakti anganam prajayate. So then aparad will accrue. So I hope this makes it clear.
I think also Srila Prabhupada mentioned that one time. I think the devotees asked the same question. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that you follow next day Dwadashi. Also, I think we also understand that Dwadashi is not recommended for fasting. Would you comment on that as well, Prabhuji?
Right. So Dwadashi is not in general recommended for fasting. Dwadashi is basically recommended for completing the Ekadashi fast. So I told you what is Srila Rupa Goswami's opinion. If by mistake it has happened, then there is no such prayaschitta or anything mentioned like that for Vaishnavas. But it is a rahasya basically. It is a secret. So don't open it out to anyone and everyone, because non-devotees also will start basically taking advantage of it, and they will say, oh, prayaschitta is not needed for us also, because Rupa Goswami said in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So we will also not do any prayaschitta. So this should not be given to non-devotees basically. So I hope this is clear to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. There was one hand raised, but I think there is no other question now. But if there is no other question, we can end here.
I think there was.
No, we have announcements. Shweta
Mataji, you have a question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah, Prabhuji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Prabhuji. I have one small question. I just wanted to understand what is the impact of missing the prana time on Dwadasi. If you don't eat during that window, or if you miss that window, what is the impact?
Then you have not completed the fast on time, basically. So you have not completed the fast on time, and if you have not completed the fast on time, then that fast is not basically completed. So Prabhupada one time was very angry when devotees didn't complete their fast on time. So this is what you took the fast also into Dwadashi basically. But there is no basically there is no atonement for it basically. So atonement, there is no such atonement for Vaishnavas. Rupa Goswami has said that there is no atonement for Vaishnavas.
So what I understand, Prabhuji, that then the Ekadashi fast that we observed will not be considered, or
yeah, you will not accrue the merit of the fast, but
right.
There is no atonement as such for accidental, quote unquote, I am specifying accidental breaking of fasts.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
So thank you so much, Hari Parshad Prabhu. It has been an amazing discussion. You took us through in the last 1 hour. You provided so much of depth. We all learned a lot, and you are one of the 5 eminent speakers to grace the Lord Jagannath Shravan Festival. So we would like to thank you, but we would like to thank you if everyone can sort of show their unmute and show their screen, show the camera. You can just show so that we can offer Hari Bol 3 times to Hari Parshad Prabhu by thanking him for his exemplary class today by glorifying Lord Jagannath Maha-prasad. So let's thank Hari Parshad Prabhu by saying 3 times Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
We'll have quick announcements before ending the call.